Welcome to the Power and Light podcast. My name is Josiah Winnell, joined by Jude Miley and Preston Graber today. We are so excited to be all together, even on the call together. And today, the conversation sits all around the draft. I just want a quick analysis from Preston Graber, an expected analysis of the first pick of the Dallas Mavericks going to Cooper Flagg. Preston, how did we get here? And what does Cooper Flagg bring to a team in Dallas that's had a lot of criticism over the past year?
Well, it makes their general manager look like an absolute genius for making the Luka Doncic trade, which led them to being in the draft lottery and somehow jumping I believe it was projected 11 spots. So that's pretty wild, but it sets them up for a good future. You know, Cooper Flagg being at Duke, it will be good for them as far as like fan wise because he's from the United States and he's someone that people have been watching over the last year and a half.
Jude, when a new player comes in, the first overall pick, there's a lot of first overall picks in NBA history. Obviously, the ones that come to mind are, the main one would be LeBron James. And obviously, the expectations aren't the same, but there is an expectation that you come in and you turn a franchise around. You not only have to turn a franchise around, but you also have the media breathing down your back. And when we saw it with Victor Wembanyama, there is expectations right now for Cooper Flagg, the assumptive first overall pick. How do you deal with that pressure and as you prepare to go to a market that's massive like Dallas?
Yeah, no matter how much pressure it is, you've got to use it positively. Like, if you let it get to you in a negative way, and the pressure is just going to keep increasing, and it's going to spiral downward. So the first thing is you've got to use the media pressure positively. So whether that's just using it as motivation to do better if you have a bad game, or just seeing what people think about you and wanting to show them that you've got more than they think you have. Like, you've got to just see it in a positive way and kind of, you just use it to move forward.
And it will be interesting to see, and that's a perfect Jude. It'll be interesting to see how he handles it. Obviously, this is a completely talented draft class. It's not just Cooper Flagg. Preston, what are the other names outside Flagg that we should be looking out for?
Yeah, you have the two young guns out of Rutgers in Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey. They'll both likely go in the top 6 or 7 picks. Dylan Harper seems to be a lockout too, so that's cool to see. VJ Edgecombe from Baylor, another name that's kind of flown up draft boards. Really, it's a lot of college people this year, and not as many international. Only seeing probably 2 or 3 international players go in the top 15.
But overall, the international game is getting stronger in terms of quantity. They've had quality players with guys like Wembanyama coming in, and obviously we just saw an MVP from Canada in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. The international game, Preston's right, isn't the strongest draft class in the top couple picks. But when you look at the entirety of the draft class, there is a strong showing from international players as you get into the later of the first rounds outside of the lottery picks and then the second round as well. And one of the things that people are talking about is the strength and the growth of French basketball. And what we saw with the French in the World Cup, I think, is a telltale of what is to come with a talented French game getting better and better. It all starts with Victor Wembanyama, and he's the front runner in this complete change in the international sports game, specifically in France. But there is a potential of 5, maybe even 6, but likely only 5 French players drafted this evening. If that is the case, that could really switch and turn the tables on what is already shifting to a more international game. Jude, we've talked about it in the past. Most sports either are international or American exclusive. Obviously, soccer all around the world. American football is American football for a reason. Yes, they've tried to expand, but with little success. I don't want to say little to none, but they've had a little success. The NBA is very quickly, rapidly going from a national game to being an international phenomenon. How important is this French push right now, as well as the world starting to take notice and really invest in basketball and then see results like all of these guys that might get drafted this evening?
Yeah, I think the international just player pool is very important because if we think about like LeBron James, who's just a genetic freak, incredible at basketball, he was born in the United States, right? But what if there was another LeBron James type genetic freak in Central Europe, Africa, Asia, like anywhere else that no one knows about because he just didn't know about basketball or like it just wasn't big in their culture. And so that's one thing you have to realize, like with other sports, there's the potential for genetic freaks from anywhere over the world. There's such a huge, I guess, population to get people from. Like basketball, for the longest time, like primarily America, you don't get the same amount of genetic potential. But now, as basketball becomes international, there's this genetic potential that could just change the game, make it way more competitive, and also, bigger across the world with some like national patriotism or whatever entering people's hearts, like soccer or football or whatever. That could be big. That could be something that countries rally behind. But basketball has the same potential for that if these other countries like France continue to develop players and grow some national pride around basketball.
Yeah, I think today shows the switch that was made quite a few years ago, and now the results are French basketball players. There was an investment in a sport that had not historically been popular outside of the borders of the United States, but now is becoming very, very talented. I mean, that's why the whole documentary about the United States, trying to pursue the gold medal this year, it wasn't a given. In the past, the gold medal for the United States men's basketball team was a given. And this year it was difficult. Even though they did win it, the French, were right, were knocking on the door, but there was a ton of other teams that have a lot of talented players. And once again, like I said earlier, the Canadians with a very talented basketball crew as well, headlined by this year's MVP for the National Basketball Association. Now, switching completely outside from the court all the way to the pitch, I just want some quick opinions on what happened in the FIFA Club World Cup yesterday with Inter Miami and Lionel Messi. And here's a little background. Inter Miami sealed their spot in the last 16 of the FIFA Club World Cup. Now, this is not the World Cup that will be coming to the United States next year and North America as a whole. This is the Club World Cup. Without giving too much explanation, it is a qualifying club that from all over the world clubs are competing. That's essentially what it is. But yes, Lionel Messi in headlines today because of a 2-2 draw that saw Lionel Messi leave the pitch extremely frustrated, even though his team advanced. So I just want to get some opinions here from the guys. You achieve what you want. Have you ever been in a moment where you achieve what you want, but it's a lower standard than what you think that you were possible for? Preston, the reason I want to ask this question is because it feels like Lionel Messi is trying to hold his team to a higher standard, but that is not necessarily what's being achieved right now. Why is that such an important characteristic in one of the greats?
Well, yeah, clearly it's something that he wants the team to be held to a higher standard because he's on it, right? There's a reason he came to Inter Miami. Yes, money, I'm sure, is a big deal. Coming to the United States, big deal. But, he wants to win games still, and he wants to win on the biggest stages. If he's going to be one of the best to do it, then he's got to show that he can carry a team that might not, like, they're not supposed to be there, but yet here they are. And so he's clearly made an impact. And, bit of a frustrating game clearly for him. He got carded, so that could be adding into some of the frustration there. But overall, really just looking forward, I think, at this rate for him. And he just wants to be the best he possibly can.
Jude, this is almost opposite of the question that I asked with the NBA. It almost feels like soccer is coming. It's always been strong in the United States, but it's coming at an even stronger level with some of these more talented players taking their skills to the United States and being a part of Major League Soccer as the MLS expands and becomes a stronger league. And I think that's extremely important for United States soccer because it's been a laughingstock at points throughout history. Jude, the opposite of basketball spreading across the world, how have you seen the United States expand their soccer world, as well as why is that so important for the USA culture?
Yeah, so I guess to start off, there was, at least in my life, this sort of stigma around soccer. Like it was kind of like a wimpy sport in a sense, even though I don't see like why that was even a thing, but it was just this idea, at least where I grew up in my school. But anyways, I think a lot of the reason soccer might be growing like in the United States, it could just be the money. a lot of money in the United States for entertainment. But what I think it does is it connects the United States more to the world, because soccer globally is just huge, but in the United States it's not as big. I think, and if you're like really go America in all sports, like at the Olympics, and I think the World Cup was where a lot of people in the United States started seeing soccer more. I mean, growing America's soccer team, like that's just a huge patriotic like idea, I guess. Just wanting America to be better, not like in a superior way, like a condescending way, but just like wanting to be like strong and have fun. And I think that just growing soccer's culture in America just brings that. And I think all these other countries coming into the United States just kind of shows the United States is a central figure for sports. And I guess soccer as a whole could benefit from that, United States going there, just because sports in America are a really big thing.
Well, and it's already benefiting, right? I mean, the World Cup in 2026 is coming to North America, with the majority of matches being held in the United States. I think it's already made a big impact. But Jude, you make a great point. The culture around it and the preconceptions about it are completely different. And so looking at all of the perspectives, I'm really excited where soccer's heading. But you're right, Jude. If the United States wants to have a soccer team that they are proud of, and that's consistently held to the standard that other sports teams are, like our U.S. men's basketball team and women's basketball team, to name just a few, they are going to have to make more of an investment in the United States in developing the soccer, the love of soccer and the program and the athletes that are going into the sport, because it's so much more spread out. In other countries, diversified maybe just to soccer, but to one or two, maybe three sports. In the United States, the crop of talent, the athletes that are going up are likely spread out between football, basketball, baseball. They're spread out into a lot more. So the crop of true talented American soccer players is very limited compared to some other countries. But no excuses. They make it work on other sports. I think the Americans can catch up eventually, but it will take some time. Maybe take a lesson from French basketball, and we'll see what happens in 2026. That will be important. So, jumping from the court to the pitch, now we head to the field. As Preston, could you give us an update on the Kansas City Chiefs brand new minted, the rookies that are joining in? What are we hearing from the Chiefs camp, but also what kind of impact do you think that they're going to make right out of the gate at training camp?
Well, obviously, camp has been underway for around a month now. It hasn't been mandatory yet until recently, but it's good. You get the rookies in, the rookies get kind of adjusted to how NFL life is, and it's pretty crazy for them because they go from playing the whole college year straight into the draft, straight into mini camps, and then straight into season. So they do not get a break for these 2 years here. And so it's kind of good to see them getting adjusted, getting fit. The big names, Josh Simmons, O tackle. Andy Reid said that he's healthy and he'll be able to be ready for a season. Now, that doesn't tell us whether he'll be starting, whether he'll be on the bench, whether he'll be the first tackle out if someone goes down. We don't know what that looks like. Where I think most Chiefs fans are hoping that he will get in early because we drafted him with a first round pick and it's deserving of him starting. Then we have a lot of defensive guys that we drafted, Omar Norman Lott and Ashton Jalati. They're both doing well in camp, but they're also kind of overshadowed by the amount of players we have at their positions. I mean, Ashton Jalati's a freak athlete, George Karlaftis type player, and he's literally just getting overshadowed by the four guys we have in front of him. One kind of surprise I would say is Noel Williams. It's been rumored that he hasn't been doing like as great as anticipated. I mean, we drafted him in the third round with pick 21, and he hasn't performed to that. So hopefully he can come around. Although we are kind of loaded at corner. Then on the offensive side of the ball, we have Jalen Royals and Brashard Smith. Royals receiver, he'll be our fourth or fifth receiver. Nothing crazy, and Brashard Smith could be our receiving back. We do have some UDFAs that are making some splashes, but we'll have to see. Obviously, our roster is full of vets, so these rookies are coming in behind an established veteran core, which is really good to see.
Jude, this is the dog days of summer, and I'll talk about that in a second, but this is the time of year, NFL-wise, where people start to make wild, bold predictions. But one of the claims I heard recently is that with the loss in the Super Bowl, the Chiefs dynasty is over. Okay, sitting back, we all know that that's very, very quick to say. A Super Bowl loss, the fact that a team went to the Super Bowl is enough to maintain a dynasty run, but even a dynasty can have off years. Jude, I need you to just help me refute this claim because the fact that somebody said it kind of makes me sick to my stomach. It will end eventually, but I think we said it a million times on this show, and I'm not even trying to say this as a biased opinion. Whenever Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes walk out on the field with Brett Veach up in the office, signing players to surround them, I don't think that there's any chance that that dynasty ends. So, Jude, help me refute this claim as we kind of reflect on the season that was and what is to come.
Yeah, I mean, we got Patrick Mahomes, right? We have Patrick Mahomes. And I'm assuming that people who be saying this are like Broncos fans who think Bo Nix is going to have MVP season and their defense is the best in the league. I mean, that's because that's the only people I can imagine saying that. No one else would, I mean, unless you're really just salty at the Chiefs, which is not. I can see that happening, but the Chiefs are just, they're proven. I don't see how you can see a proven team who just went to the Super Bowl. It doesn't matter that they lost. They just went to the Super Bowl and saying they're done. Dynasties can end fast, right? You don't always realize a dynasty's about to end and then it ends, but the Chiefs are not there yet. Mahomes is too young, right? Like he's got so much more time left. And anytime I see Mahomes with the ball in his hands playing quarterback, like I think the Chiefs can win the game, and I don't care. Even against the Eagles' fourth quarter, I'm thinking Mahomes could win this with 5 minutes left. And would we be surprised? Maybe just a little bit, but not that surprised because Mahomes is just so good.
The expectations are so high. So when he doesn't fulfill the expectations of a Super Bowl championship, that's crazy to say, number one. Like people don't realize that. The expectation, it's Super Bowl or bust really for Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, and co. Because that's really what the expectation is. Last year is considered a failure in many eyes because they lost, in the Super Bowl, and yet it's still a season that some franchises would dream of to go to the AFC Championship, win it, and then go play in the Super Bowl and compete. So I agree with you, Jude. I don't think we're having that conversation yet. It could happen soon, but I doubt it. All right, I just heard somebody say a few days ago that we're in the dog days of summer, and if you're here in Kansas City, you know what I mean. The heat is finally getting to us, and I feel like we have two smart guys and a host on this show. So I think that we should give our best advice. I'll ask you guys the best advice to escaping the heat and staying alive and pushing forward in the dog days of summer. Preston, just share with our crew what is your best advice as someone who, do you experience the heat often?
Best area of advice would be don't get a job that you work outdoors in 24/7. Get something that's indoors if you don't like the heat, if you don't like the weather, and if you are outside, hey, enjoy what's there. God created nature for a reason.
All right, so Preston's not looking at it in a negative way. I really respect that. Jude, you don't have to go the same route, but I'm curious, what's your best advice for these heated days of June and July?
My number one tip for every listener out there who's suffering from the heat, the sun, just look for a tree. There's always going to be a tree somewhere, even if you can't see one. Middle of Kansas, there's less trees, but you can still find a tree in it. When there's a tree, there's shade, unless it's cloudy. But even then, there's still some shade. And even if you're not hot yet, even if you just got outside, find a tree. It'll save you in the future.
I don't think we need a quote of the day, Jude. That was the best quote I've heard in a while. I think that's the best thing. Drink water. That's mine. Drink water, stay alive, and keep listening to the show. Thank you for bearing with us as we hopped around the league. But there's so much fun sports going on. But it's true. If you're an MLB fan, it's the dog days of summer. The Kansas City Royals are playing 500 ball right now. We're just waiting for we're waiting for everything else to cool off and for them to get on a hot streak. That's all we're praying for. So thank you so much for listening. This has been Josiah Winnell with Jude Miley and Preston Graber. And go back if you need the quote of the day because Jude just gave you one of the best ever. Thank you for listening.